learned about the formula for volume, and could you please repeat it to me so that I can write it down on this paper? So volume equals length times width
times height.
Okay, and if I were to substitute the numbers in here, I would do volume equals 3 times 5 times 2, and we got 30 for this volume, right?
Yeah.
30 units cubed. Whoops. My pen isn't really writing where I want it to. Okay, so today we're going to learn another formula for volume. It seems quite simple, but it's not. Okay? It's area times height. Now, we don't call it area times height. When you see it on a problem, they're going to say the base of the figure is blah, 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 blah. The height is blah. What's the volume? I know. So this is how we have to think of it. Volume equals base. Actually, you can just write a B. Base times height. Now, somebody remind me what area actually is.
The amount of...
No, that's volume. I want to know area. What's the formula for area? Length times width. So if I take my length times my width, that's going to give me 15 units squared. An area is always squared because there are two measurements. Write that down. Okay? So my length times my width is my base. Are you following? Base and area kind of mean the same thing. All right? Now I have to take it times what number? The height. What's the height? 2 what? 2 units. Do I square it or cube it or anything? No. So my volume is going to be 15 times 2, which is what?
30.
30. But what's my label? Because the labels are getting us confused today. Units what?
Square root.
Cubed. Why is it cubed?
Because there's 3.
Because there's 3 measurements when you really think about it. You've got length times width times height. Correct? Okay. So also, by the way, you remember powers of 10? What if I had 10 to the second power times 10 to the first power? I would get 10 to the what? Third power. Kind of the same thing here. All right? You have a 2, you have a 1, it gives you a 3. Funny how that works. Okay, so let's look at it over here. And if you're going to keep tapping, I'm going to send you out of here. Okay, so the traditional formula from yesterday was volume equals length times width times height. And I'm writing this down because I don't have it on here. I used my iPad yesterday. This is my length. This is my width. Is that correct? Okay. And we said that was volume equals 5 times 2 times 4. And the volume was 40. And I'm going to say units cubed today because that's how our label's going to work, okay? You don't have to change yours from yesterday. I love the way you're solving your problem. I never said a word, did I? I'm so proud of you. She lost her paper. She just got another one out and started writing on it. Awesome. Okay, so using today's formula, volume equals base times height, let's rewrite this problem. So the base is what times what? Length times width, right? So the length times the width would be 10 units what? Squared or cubed? There's two measurements. What do I need? Squared of 2. Times the height. What's the height?
4 units.
4 units. So that's really like to the first power, correct? So if I have something to the second power times something to the first power, I'm going to end up with what power? 40 to the third power, which would be 40 units cubed, and that means volume, okay? Now I know this is a lot to absorb into your brain, so we're going to practice a few problems, but let's turn this paper over and write the area, the base area formula one more time. So I've got volume equals, what was our new formula? Base times height. Now, the reason, oh, look at you, you're here. The reason we don't use width or length when we have the base, because the base is really like area, isn't it? So what is the base? Length times width. Justin, I told the kids I was starting to worry about you because I didn't want you to miss any more school because I want you to be able to understand everything you need to understand.
I went to the eye doctor.
Eye doctor. He thought it was a dentist. You were close, weren't you? I'm so glad you're here. I'll tell you what, you can fill this in later on your paper, okay? We're going to practice some problems together right now. What did we learn today that we can tell Justin, though, before we go any farther? Base times height is our new formula. And what it really means is area times height, doesn't it? Sometimes you're even going to see on your problems, it'll say, the problem will say, the volume of the figure is 380 degrees, or 380 centimeters cubed. The area is 40 centimeters squared. What's the height? I know. Sounds like a different language, doesn't it? But by the end of today, you're going to understand how to solve a problem like that. Tomorrow's class period is going to be just solving problems. Ella, can you get the door for me, please? Okay, so the paper we're going to practice today has sample problems on it. So I'm going to get those passed out. I'm going to pause it while we pass those out, okay? And then we'll continue with the lesson. First one, it's a little misleading. The first one's almost too easy because we've got a height of 1 meter. But let's look at what we know, okay? And before we do anything else, I want to label height. What's this? Width and length. Okay, and do we know the height? 1 meter. Now, I'm not going to ask you to label on the page we're going to do for a grade. You're on the wrong side. But I'm labeling now, and you're labeling now, so we can get this figured out in our heads, okay? All right, so the base area is 64. Let's go ahead and write the new formula. Volume equals what? Base times height. Okay, and the base is actually 64. Now, a lot of times, this will be given to you, and the volume will be given to you, and you'll have to figure out the height. And we're going to practice that at the bottom, okay? But right now, this is pretty simple. We're going to take our base, which is 64, what? Meters squared. And take it times the height, which is what? 1 what? Meter. And you can't leave off labels. And if you get them incorrect, then it's wrong because there's only one way to label these problems. Okay, now, some of you yesterday would have went ahead and wrote a 65 for the answer because you accidentally added the 1,
It's just
but you're going to multiply the 1. So the answer will be what?
64 cubic units.
Okay, and let's do meters cubed because we do have a measurement, don't we?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody figure out what the length and width are? Quick, quick, quick. What is it? 8 times 8. Good job. Who said that?
Me.
Awesome. Okay, let's keep going to the next one. Now don't shout out the length and width yet. Wait till I ask for it, okay? So I'm going to start by labeling my diagram. This is width, this is length. Am I going too slow? You already figured it out. Okay. And the height is what? 3 what? Centimeters. 3 centimeters. So get that labeled, okay? And the base area, which is actually the exact same thing as the top. Did anybody figure that out? On a rectangular prism, the base and the top are exactly the same, okay? All right, so the base area is 54. So let's just start with volume equals 54 centimeters, what? Squared. Because it really stands for length times width. By the way, what's the length and the width?
9.
So you think this is 9 and this is 6. You're probably right. Okay, and we're just doing that because the more we learn about labeling these diagrams, the more successful you'll be when you do the problems, okay? The problems are what mess you up. If I had a problem that I didn't understand, what do you think I would do first? I'd draw the thing, and then I'd label what I know. I wouldn't just pull the numbers out of the air and try and multiply them. I would make sure, okay? So you've got 54 centimeters squared times what? 3 what? 3 centimeters. So 54 times 3, you're going to want to use the standard algorithm for. Now, I want to show you mistakes I saw yesterday. Can we do mistakes? Okay. So here, well, should we do it right first and then I'll show you mistakes? Okay. So what's 4 times 3? And what's 5 times 3?
15.
Plus 1. So my volume is 162 centimeters
Cubed.
cubed. Because how many measurements is this?
3.
It's 3. Okay? Now, let's see the mistakes I saw. This is funny. So this first mistake I saw looked like this. Are you ready? Okay, so they did 4 times 3 is 12, and then they wrote that. What mistake was made?
They added.
They added the second 2 digits, didn't they? Okay? Here's another mistake I saw. This one's going to really surprise you. Okay? I kid you not. Now, how could you have 27 as an answer when you started out with 54? Okay? And then that was assumed to be correct. Okay? Another thing I saw only adding. So they came up with 87 for an answer.
You will need to add 54 3 times.
That's right. Now, I want you to remember about repeated addition because that's going to help you if you get stuck. Okay? It's also going to help you when you need to divide, and we'll talk about that down on the bottom. Okay? But we all remember how to multiply, and you need to practice it on paper, don't they, Cooper? The multiplication on paper. You don't want to do what Cooper did, pull up the calculator to multiply decimals, because that's really not helping
It doesn't
you.
even help.
Practice.
Gets it wrong.
And I'm asking you to practice before your assessments next week, okay? All right, so let's keep going. The next one says, base area is 10 feet squared, height is 4. So let's get these labeled, height, width, length. Height equals 4 feet. Okay, so what is the volume here? I've got to scroll.
Miss Lewis, do you want to stream the back page? Are we going to as a group?
I'll answer that question in a minute when I get finished with this. This problem right here messed a lot of people up on the assignment I gave them, so I want you to stay with me at least through this. Okay, so volume equals, notice I'm just doing 2 equal signs here. Because they give me my base area, I'm just going to go with it, okay? So volume equals what?
10 feet squared
10 feet squared
times 4 feet.
times 4 feet. Those labels are perfect, Corbin. Okay, now what do you think the length and the width are?
5 times 5.
5 times 2. I agree. I kind of use the way the diagram looks and then some multiplication facts to figure that out. Okay, so the answer here is what?
40 feet.
40 feet what?
40 feet.
Cube, because there are really 3 measurements. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Now don't come up to me when you get to the other side and say, I don't understand this. Because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send you right back to your seat and I'm going to say, look at the ones we did together. Figure this out on your own. We just did it. This is different. How is it different, Cooper?
It asks for the height.
It asks for the height. So we got the same formula. Let's write it down. Volume equals base times what? Height. But which one do we not know?
The height.
So this is what we know for sure. Okay? So in order to do this problem, first of all, it's going to be height equals, isn't it? So H equals. And then how would I plug the numbers into this formula? Well, let's look at it.
80.
Volume is 80, so 80 equals 20 times something. Now don't say anything because I want to know how do I find the missing factor? If I know the product, what do?
Divide.
I divide. I do the opposite of multiply, right? Yeah, I do. So 20 times something equals 80 is really like 80 divided by 20, okay? Now, I know you can do that in your head, but I want you to go ahead and write it down so that when you get to your assignment, you'll remember what strategy you used, okay? Now, there are 2 ways to solve this problem. I could do long division, okay? And I would know that 20 times what equals 80? 4. Okay. Or I could skip count until I get to 80. So I would start with 20 and I go 20, 40, 60, 80. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's my answer? 4. Okay. So that's repeated addition. This is long division. They're both going to give you the same answer. So how do I write this down here? Height equals 80 centimeters what?
Squared.
No, cubed. You've got to look up here. 80 centimeters cubed divided by 20 centimeters squared. Okay, we already know the answer, don't we? What's the height? 4, correct? And it's 4 centimeters. Okay, so when I write the answer for height, do I square or cube anything? No, I don't. Each one of them individually doesn't need an exponent beside it. Okay, it's not really an exponent, but that's the easiest way to say it.
The answer
Is a label, okay? So what do you think the base is? Any ideas?
4 times 5.
I was thinking of that. I was also thinking of this. 10 times 2, maybe? Because it's bigger on one side, yeah. But 4 times 5 would work. It would just maybe be a little less long and skinny. Okay, let's look at your assignment for the day. Now on this one, I noticed that everything is asking for volume. Volume, 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 and more volume. And then look at the last 2. Height. So which one on the paper we just did will help you with the last two?
The last one.
The last problem. Don't come up to me and say, Mrs. Lewis, I don't get this one. Well, yes, you do. You just have to jog your memory. We just did it, okay? And if you absolutely cannot remember how to do long division, then you better start skip counting. Got it? Okay, so this is your task for the day. I'm going to go ahead and write that down so I don't forget that these two are different. So why am I writing H equals instead of V equals? Because it's asking a different question. Okay? Right, let me go ahead and turn this off.